So what we're going to do now is put this flashing piece on here. I mentioned that it's something I think typically used on like a roof valley or something like that, or maybe where you're a roof on a dormer or something might hit your shingles. But it's kind of a nice material. It kind of comes probably more like 120 degree open, so it's kind of an obtuse thing. What I do is I kind of fold it up to 90 degrees, and I'm going to set it down in here purely for aesthetic reasons. I don't really want to have all this brick showing, and I don't want to plan on painting it. So what I'm going to do is put this ledge piece on here, and then I'm going to kind of layer another piece of tin on before doing my actual siding. But before I put my next sheet on, my next sheet of OSB, my 5/8 piece, I want to pinch the top of the tin with that. So I'm going to start with this, do the next one, and go on. The way that I'm holding it on is I'm going to use some of the structural adhesive, just a liquid nail stuff. And I kind of wipe down the surface to get all the dust out of the way. And then what I'll do is I'll use some bricks to kind of pinch it in place. And that's just until it hardens up so that I can keep working around it. But I'm going to do that and kind of work my way across this wall. I'm doing a bead down on this front edge as well as a little bit up the wall so that it catches both ends of this. And then, like I said, the bricks will just kind of pinch it down and hold it in. Little pro tip for you here, to use some of Perkins Builder Brothers. You should check them out if you haven't seen them. Use some of their vernacular. If you cut the tip off and save it, you can use it to plug it when you're done using it for the day. I mean, since it's the same material, obviously, as what the tip's made of, it won't adhere to it real well, and you'll be able to get it off easily enough. It's also handy to have a rag nearby as you're doing this stuff, because you don't want it to drip over top of your tin and then harden there. So the tin part's pretty easy, as you've just seen. Probably in my case, the harder thing is working by myself and using bricks to kind of, pinch the front and the back side of that flange. What I did though is I'm keeping it short of this stoop, this cement stair going to my front door, because the plan is to remove that when we build a deck that'll occupy the place that it is currently. So that's the reason I've cut back. My plan is that once we get kind of this side all done, once I get my 5/8 back on here, the rest of the tin and stuff, I'm going to turn my attention to the door. We'll take the door out, take the steps out. There's a little bit of a concrete foundation here. That'll be well below where the deck's going to sit, but I got to get this guy out and get this guy out, both of which are going to be a real pain. I'll have to probably rent a jackhammer or something for those, but that'll be it for now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use, this is like a 10-inch roll, 10-inch wide roll of trim coil. It's got black and white on it. What I did is I cut it down at 5 inches, and that's just going to be just enough to catch the top lip of this, and then I can staple it into my bottom cap, or my base plate of the wall. And then, like I said, that'll give me kind of that layered kind of barrier or whatever up until where my actual siding will start. This again is all aesthetics. It's just to keep the cement kind of covered over so it's not so evident. So now that I've got my tin up, I'm ready to kind of measure out where my OSB is going to come down to. And that OSB is going to be the bottom edge of where the cement board siding is actually going to start. So what I've done is I've got a laser set up, and I've measured off the bottom edge of the last run on the other side of the house, and I've kind of traced that pencil line around the house, and now I'm going to kind of transcribe it over here so that I can start lining up my OSB. I know these typically will come with like a grade stick or something, but the grade stick has a rounded bottom on it. My Stanley, you can take the bottom off so you get a nice square edge. That's kind of what I want to prefer that's what I prefer right now, both so that I can make sure that I'm actually keeping it level when it's upright, but also so that I can actually kind of just rub a line along the bottom. And you don't have to do the whole wall, but if you can do it in roughly 8-foot increments, then you can lay up your OSB sheets and kind of just measure down so that you know that you're cutting them at the right height. So since I started on that side with my first layer with a 1/2-inch OSB, I'm going to start on this side with an 8 or 5/8 inch. And that's so I get an overlapping seam. I don't want seams from both sheets to line up on each other. I don't have a lot of knowledge with these laser levels. I had got this Bosch one. It's one of the, I think it's a 600 model off of eBay, and you know it was a good used deal. What I'm finding though is it's very touchy. Like you don't have a lot of forgiveness as far as up and down your vertical height. So once it beeps high, it'll almost immediately start beeping low. And so you kind of just have to take it with a grain of salt. So I know I didn't do any filming while actually getting this window in, and that's just because with minimal amount of hands, it's kind of hard to configure all that and get it set up. So this is the new replacement window for the bay window that had been here. You'd seen me tear it off in the previous section. We got the window framed in. The rough opening was 81 7/8 by 48.5, and that's for the window that's actually sized at 48 and 81 3/8. So we got it rough opened. I have the Tamlin wrap over it, and what you do is you slice your Tamlin wrap in the middle, allow it to roll in on the insides of the frame here, and you can staple along there, roll it up and over the sill, and then you'll put some sill tape, some sill flashing tape around the kind of the base of the sill where the window's going in. We got it into place, held it in. My wife went inside, she checked the levels and everything, made sure that it was properly at the right height to match the other windows we'd done before. And while she was on the inside verifying that, we were able to then stamp in all these broadhead nails around the perimeter. I guess this is probably one of the larger windows. This is the largest window I've done. Really, it wasn't so terrible. I probably psyched myself out more just kind of doing it. But essentially what we did is we had it just down here on the floor or on the ground. We had some of these 2x stuck up against the wall and allowed it to kind of slide that way. And then we're able to lift it up into place and then kind of push it up like that. And then I would, like I said, I just supported it while we checked the level of it. So what I've done now, I'm starting to go around with my seal tape, my flashing tape around the outside. What I found with this Tamlin wrap is that there's this butyl product that comes from Menards that seems to work pretty well, this white stuff. This silver is more like a tar-based tape, and although that works well to seal it, it doesn't stick as great to the Tamlin wrap. And so I'm actually more of a fan of this white butyl tape instead. So what you do is you tape the two sides, and then you'll go one across the top, overlapping the tops of the two sides, and you don't do the bottom. You want to leave some area for moisture to drain out if it ever were to accumulate in the window. And once all that taping's done, then you can go and put your window trim or whatever treatments you're going to do on top of that. Pretty straightforward. You know, it's nice seeing it in place though. It's almost a little bit hard to imagine what had been there with the bow or the bay window. So just a quick detail up here at the top of the window. Typically you would actually leave your Tamlin wrap or your house wrap, your Tyvek, longer so that it would act like a skirt that would kind of go over top of your window flange. In my case though, I'm only using the butyl tape, and the reason for that is that it's so close to my soffit. I'm not too worried about water getting in here and coming down. And actually, where you see the end of my 5/8 inch, and there's this little gap before the soffit kind of backers, these braces, that's actually where my J channel is going to go in for the soffit. So it's going to go right over here and run flush across the top of these supports. So I think that's probably adequate for here. If you're on a large wall and you might have another run of, you know, a couple feet or so of siding above this, then definitely you'd want to overhang the side wrap, the house wrap, over top of the flange, even with the tape underneath of it. Unfortunately, like I said, just not enough room here to do that. Well guys, I know that's a little bit of a hodgepodge, but I didn't think it was necessary to go into too much detail and film all of the different steps. And that's simply because there are so many different YouTube videos out there detailing that. And so what I intended this to be more was just a summary of the progress that I've made so far on this home project. What you'd seen me do though is replace our old damaged siding that was behind the brick
with a few layers of OSB to bring everything flush to the existing siding surface. And this is all in preparation for my cement lap siding that I'll be installing later on. I used Tamlin wrap to cover the existing siding, just adding another layer of waterproofness and security, and I've replaced the old rotted out bay window with a new Anderson window. At the same time, I've replaced our front door, and this is all in preparation for a deck structure that I'll be framing up and building later on this summer. I hope you guys found this a little bit informational. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. And it doesn't cost you anything to hit a like or subscribe. I'll try to keep on putting up content like this and hopefully improving it as I keep getting into this YouTube thing. Anyways, have a great day, guys. We'll see you on the next one.